If you've ever been in a room full of people and suddenly realized you're the villain in someone else's love story, you'll understand why my hands were shaking when I saw her name light up my phone. Maya. Not Maya like I used to have it saved, just Maya. Clean, clinical, like the distance she'd built between us was now an official policy. It was 11:47 p.m., the night before her wedding. My apartment was quiet in that way that makes you notice every stupid little sound. The fridge clicking, the radiator sighing, the city breathing through the cracked window. I'd been pretending to watch something on Netflix for 40 minutes, rewinding the same scene because my brain refused to stay in the present. Tomorrow, she would stand in a white dress and say yes to a man who wasn't me. I told myself I was over it. I told myself it wasn't my business anymore. Then the phone buzzed again, and this time it wasn't a call, it was a text. Can I come over? No emojis. No explanation. Just 4 words that tipped like a match near gasoline. I stared at the message until my eyes watered, then typed the safest lie I could think of. It's late. Is everything okay? 3 dots appeared, disappeared, appeared again. The typing bubble felt like a countdown. I can't breathe in my own house. A third text followed before I could reply. Please. I should have said no. I should have blocked her months ago, back when she stopped answering my calls and started posting engagement photos like nothing in her life had ever burned. I should have remembered every rule men like me pretend to have. Instead, I heard myself say out loud, to an empty room, of course. I sent her my address anyway, even though she already knew it. Even though she'd been here so many times she could have found the spare key blindfolded. Then I sat up, as if sitting would make me more responsible. It didn't. I tried to picture the consequences, tried to imagine tomorrow's headlines in the private newspaper of my mind. Best man caught with bride night before wedding. Friendship ruined. Life implodes. Subscribe for more bad decisions. Because yes, there was a friend. There always is. His name was Adrian, and for a long time, he'd been my favorite person to call when life felt too heavy. He was the guy who showed up when your car died on the highway, who remembered your mother's birthday, who actually listened when you said you were fine but your voice betrayed you. The guy who never kept score. He'd also been the one who introduced me to Maya. She's the one, Adrian had said after their third date, eyes bright like a kid holding fireworks. I'm telling you, man, she's it. I remember forcing a smile, lifting my beer, and saying, you deserve that. What I didn't say was, I've already met her. In my head. In every quiet second I've had since the first time I saw her. Because the first time I saw Maya wasn't at Adrian's party. It was 2 months before that, in a bookstore cafe downtown. I was sitting alone, pretending to read a novel I didn't care about. And she was standing by the window trying to decide between 2 poetry collections like the choice mattered enough to change her life. She had her hair twisted up with a pen like she'd forgotten it was there. She wore a faded panty and black jeans, and she looked like someone who laughed at the right things and hated fake people. When she glanced at me, I looked away too fast, like a teenager. Then she walked over, held up a book, and asked, is this worth it? Or is it just pretty sadness? That was Maya. Honest on the first sentence. Dangerous on the second. We talked for 30 minutes. It could have been 3. It could have been 3 hours. Time gets weird around people who feel like a door opening. Before she left, she smiled like she already knew we would meet again and said, see you around. She didn't give me her number. I didn't ask. We played that stupid game where both people pretend they're not curious. 2 months later, Adrian invited me to a rooftop gathering. I showed up late, because I always show up late, and the first thing I heard was her laugh. I knew it instantly, like my body recognized the sound before my brain caught up. I followed it, and there she was, leaning on the railing, wind pulling strands of her hair loose. Adrian beside her looking like he'd won a lottery he didn't buy a ticket for. When Adrian saw me, he grinned and threw an arm over my shoulder. Dude, perfect timing. This is Maya. Maya turned, and the smile on her face froze for half a second. Not fear, not guilt, just surprise, like the universe had made a joke and we were the only two who got it. "Hey," she said, softer than in the bookstore. "Hey," I echoed, trying to sound normal. Adrian looked between us. "Wait, do you two know each other?" Maya's eyes held mine like a warning. "Say the right thing." "We met once," I said. "Bookstore." "Oh," Adrian laughed, relieved. "Small world." Maya smiled, and it didn't reach her eyes. Very small. From that moment, the story could have gone clean. The safe version. The moral version. We could have backed away. We could have been polite. We could have treated that bookstore moment like a random spark that never needed oxygen. But you don't always choose what catches. For months, I watched them together. I watched Maya tuck her head against Adrian's shoulder while he talked. I watched Adrian bring her coffee without being asked. I watched them build a life in front of me like a house going up on land I used to think was mine, and I hated myself for it. Sometimes Maya would look at me across a room, and it was like she was asking a question she couldn't say out loud. Sometimes I'd look away, because I had no answer that wouldn't break someone. Then, one night, it happened the way these things always happen, accidentally on purpose. Adrian had to leave early from a party because of a work call. Maya stayed. I stayed, because leaving would have felt like admitting something. Around 2 a.m., the crowd thinned out. We ended up on the balcony. The city laid out below us like a field of stars. Maya shivered, and I offered her my jacket. She took it, then didn't give it back, like she was borrowing more than fabric. "I remember you," she said quietly, looking out at the street. "From the bookstore." Before Adrian, my throat tightened. "Yes, I remember. Do you ever think about that day?" she asked, and her voice was too careful. I swallowed. "All the time." Silence. A car horn far below. A siren in the distance. The universe acting like nothing important was happening. Maya turned to me. "If I had met you at the party first, do you think?" It was a half question, and it was unfair. It was also real. I stared at her, seeing the answer I wanted and the answer I should give. The right thing and the true thing rarely shake hands. "I don't know," I lied. Maya's eyes flashed with something sharp. "You do know." Then she stepped closer, close enough that her breath warmed the space between us. And I did know. But I also knew Adrian was inside, laughing with friends, believing in the stability of his own world. I backed up a step. "Maya." Her face changed like she'd slapped herself internally. She looked down, then away. "Right. Sorry." She handed me the jacket like it was a weapon she didn't want to hold. That night should have been the end. The moment we decided we were adults. Instead, it became the first crack. After that, we didn't touch, not for a while. But we started talking. Always in ways that sounded harmless if you read the transcripts without the pauses. A quick text here, a late night message there, a "how are you really" that didn't belong between a bride-to-be and her fiancé's best friend. And the worst part? Adrian trusted us. He trusted me like a brother. He trusted her like a future. When he proposed, everyone cheered. Maya cried. I clapped until my hands hurt. That was months ago. Since then, I've watched the wedding approach like an oncoming storm you can't outrun. And now it was here. Tonight. My phone buzzed again. I'm outside. I stood so fast my chair scraped the floor, loud in the silence. My heart was punching the inside of my ribs like it wanted out. I walked to the window and looked down. Maya stood under the streetlight with her coat pulled tight, hair down, eyes lifted toward my building. Her face looked pale, like she'd been crying or fighting it. In her hand was a small bag, like she'd come prepared to leave something behind, or take something with her. I didn't think. I just moved. When I opened the door to the hallway, the cold air rushed in from the stairwell. Maya climbed the last step and stopped when she saw me, as if the sight of me made everything suddenly real. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then she exhaled, shaky, and said, I know I shouldn't be here. I stared at her, my voice almost not working. Then why are you? Her eyes were glossy. The hallway light made her look both younger and older at the same time. Because tomorrow, she whispered, I have to become someone else. My stomach dropped. I should have shut the door. I should have told her to go home. I should have called Adrian and confessed everything like a decent human being. Instead, I stepped back, and my hand opened the door wider. Maya walked in like she belonged there, and the second the door closed behind her, it felt like the world outside stopped existing. She stood in my living room, breathing hard, staring at the floor like it might tell her what to do. Her hands clenched and unclenched at her sides. I forced my voice into something calm. Talk to me. What happened? Maya lifted her eyes to mine. I can't marry him, she said. The sentence hung between us, heavy and sharp. I didn't respond fast enough. Maya's laugh broke out, bitter and small. Don't look so shocked. You've been pretending you didn't know this could happen. I swallowed. Maya. She stepped closer, just like on that balcony. Only this time, there was no party inside, no noise to soften the truth. I'm doing the thing I'm supposed to do, she whispered. The safe thing. The stable thing. The thing everyone claps for. Her eyes locked onto mine, and I felt the floor tilt. But I'm not safe, she continued. I'm not stable, and I can't stop thinking about the one person I shouldn't. My pulse went loud in my ears. I should have said no. I should have said, go home. Instead, my voice came out raw. Why now? Maya's lips trembled. Because if I don't find out tonight, she inhaled, like she was about to step off a cliff, then I'll spend my whole life wondering what I lost. Her hands rose slowly, as if even she couldn't believe she was doing it. She touched my cheek, and the second her fingers met my skin, every boundary I'd built turned to ash. That's when I realized the most dangerous thing in the room wasn't her. It was me. And the fact that I'd wanted this for longer than I'd admitted to myself. I leaned in without deciding to. Maya's eyes fluttered shut, and just before our lips met, she whispered the words that would ruin everything. Tell me to leave. I didn't. I kissed her, and in that kiss was every moment we had avoided, every truth we'd swallowed, every choice we'd pretended wasn't a choice. Outside, the city kept moving. Somewhere, Adrian was probably asleep, trusting tomorrow. Inside, Maya pulled me closer, and the last night before her wedding became the first night of something we couldn't undo. But even as her lips moved against mine, one thought kept stabbing through the heat. When the sun comes up, someone's life is going to break, and it might be all of ours. I don't know who moved first after the kiss ended. All I know is that when our lips finally separated, neither of us stepped back. Maya stayed close, forehead resting against my chest, breathing unevenly like she'd just run up too many stairs. I could feel her heart through her coat, fast and reckless, matching my own. This was the moment where adults usually come to their senses, where someone clears their throat and says, "This is a mistake." Instead, Maya whispered, "I'm terrified." I swallowed. "Me too." She laughed quietly, the sound fragile. "That doesn't sound like a reason to stop." "No," I admitted. "It doesn't." She looked up at me then, really looked, like she was memorizing my face in case this was the last time. Her eyes searched for something. Permission. Reassurance. A way out. "What if I ruin everything?" she asked. I should have told her that she already was, or that I would help her walk back out the door and forget this night ever happened. Instead, I said the most selfish truth I had. "What if you already are, and you're just finally being honest about it?" Her jaw tightened. For a second, I thought she might pull away. Then she shook her head slowly. "You make it sound so simple," she said. "It's not," I replied. "It's just real." She exhaled, long and shaky, and slid her coat off her shoulders. It fell to the floor between us, a quiet, deliberate sound. The small bag followed. Her world, reduced to a few discarded items on my living room floor. She was standing there in a thin sweater, arms crossed, suddenly vulnerable. "Tell me something," she said, "and don't lie." I nodded. "Do you think I'm a terrible person?" The question hit harder than I expected. I took a step back, giving her space, forcing myself to think instead of react. I think you're a human being who's about to make a decision she can't take back. She watched me closely. That's not an answer. I met her gaze. I think you've been trying to fit into a life that looks right from the outside, and it's suffocating you. Her eyes filled, but the tears didn't fall. You didn't answer. No, I said quietly. I don't think you're terrible. I think you're scared. She let out a breath like she'd been holding it for months. And you? She asked. What does that make you? I didn't hesitate. The worst possible person to be alone with you tonight. A corner of her mouth lifted. At least you're self-aware. We stood there, neither of us touching, the tension thick enough to feel physical. Every second stretched. Every second made it harder to walk away. I should call him, she said suddenly. The room went cold. Adrian, I asked, though I knew. She nodded, eyes dropping to the floor. I should tell him I can't do this. Not tomorrow. Not ever. My chest tightened. Is that what you want? She didn't answer right away. When she did, her voice was small. I don't know what I want. I just know what I don't want. And that is to stand at an altar and lie. I ran a hand through my hair, pacing a step away. This was spiraling faster than I'd imagined. This wasn't just about us anymore. It never really was. If you call him tonight, I said carefully, everything changes. She looked up. Everything already has. I stopped pacing and faced her again. Maya, I need to know something. And I need you to be honest. She straightened slightly, bracing herself. Okay. Are you here because you don't want to marry him? I asked. Or because you want to be with me? The question hung there, brutal and necessary. Her eyes widened. She opened her mouth, then closed it again. For the first time since she arrived, she looked truly lost. I hate that question, she said. I know, I replied. But I won't do this if I'm just an escape hatch. Silence stretched between us. Somewhere outside, a car passed. Life kept going, indifferent. Finally, she spoke. When I imagine tomorrow, I feel numb, like I'm watching myself from the outside. She took a step closer, slow, deliberate. When I imagine not seeing you again, it feels like grief. My heart sank and lifted at the same time. That's not a clean answer, I said. She shook her head. Nothing about this is clean. She reached for my hand, then stopped halfway, fingers hovering like she was afraid to cross another invisible line. If we do this, she said, I don't want it to be because I'm running. I want it to be because I'm choosing. I closed the distance and took her hand. Her skin was warm, trembling. Then choose, I said softly. Her fingers tightened around mine. She didn't kiss me this time. Instead, she leaned into my chest, resting her head there like she'd done 1,000 times in some other life. I've never cheated before, she said into my shirt. I stiffened. The word hung heavy. This doesn't feel like cheating, she continued. It feels like betrayal of a different kind. Like I've been betraying myself for years. I didn't know how to respond to that, so I didn't pretend to. I just held her, my hand resting between her shoulder blades, feeling her breathe. Minutes passed, or seconds. Time wasn't reliable anymore. Eventually, she pulled back. Can I stay? She asked. The question was simple. The answer was anything but. Yes, I said. She nodded once, like she'd expected that, and glanced around my apartment. Do you have water? I smiled faintly. Yeah, kitchen. We moved like strangers, trying not to acknowledge how close we were. I handed her a glass, our fingers brushing. She flinched slightly, then laughed under her breath. This is insane, she said, taking a sip. Completely, I agreed. She leaned against the counter, studying me over the rim of the glass. Do you ever think about how different things could have been? All the time, I said. She nodded. Me too. She set the glass down and walked past me, toward the window. She stood there, looking out at the city lights, her back to me. I practiced my vows yesterday, she said suddenly. My stomach dropped. Yeah, she laughed softly, humorless. I kept messing up the line about certainty. I don't think I've ever been certain about anything. I stepped closer, stopping a few feet behind her. Certainty is overrated. She turned. Is that what you tell yourself when you make terrible decisions? Yes, I said. It helps me sleep. She smiled sadly. I don't think I'm sleeping tonight. Me neither. We stood there, the space between us charged. Come sit, I said gently. You look exhausted. She hesitated, then nodded. We moved to the couch, sitting close but not touching, like proximity alone was enough. Maya curled her legs beneath her, hugging a cushion to her chest. Promise me something, she said. What? If this ends badly, she said, eyes fixed on the floor. Promise me you won't pretend it was meaningless. I didn't hesitate. I promise. She looked up, searching my face again. Even if it destroys everything. I met her gaze. Especially then. Something in her expression broke. She leaned forward and kissed me again, slower this time, deeper. There was no urgency now, just intention. Her hand slid to my neck. Mine rested on her waist, light, like I was still giving her a chance to pull away. She didn't. She shifted closer, and I felt the weight of the moment settle in fully. This wasn't a mistake made in the dark. This was a choice made with open eyes. As I pulled her closer, one thought kept repeating in my head, loud and unforgiving. Tomorrow, the world will ask her to choose a future. Tonight, she was choosing me, and I didn't know if I was strong enough to let her go when morning came. We didn't rush. That was the strangest part. There was no frantic tearing of clothes, no desperate urgency like we were trying to outrun the sunrise. Instead, everything slowed down, as if the world understood the weight of what we were about to do and decided to give us time to feel it fully. Maya rested her forehead against mine, eyes closed, breathing steady now. This is the point of no return, she said quietly. I nodded. I know. She opened her eyes. If I stop now, I waited. Will you hate me? The question cut deeper than I expected. No, I said immediately. I'll hate the situation. I'll hate the timing. I'll hate myself for hoping. But I won't hate you. Her lips trembled. And if I don't stop, I didn't answer right away. I leaned in and pressed my forehead to hers. Then I'll carry this for the rest of my life, I said. Whatever it becomes. That was enough. She kissed me again, and this time there was no hesitation left. The kiss deepened, softened, turned intimate in a way that felt terrifyingly natural. Like muscle memory from a life we never lived. Her sweater slid off slowly, deliberately, like she was undressing not just her body but every lie she'd been wearing for months. I watched her carefully, waiting for the flicker of doubt. It never came. When I touched her, it wasn't hunger that hit me first. It was reverence, a quiet awareness that this wasn't about conquest or escape. It was about connection. We moved toward the bedroom without speaking, hands finding familiar places they had no right to know. The room was dim, lit only by the city glow filtering through the curtains. Maya sat on the edge of the bed, suddenly still. I stopped in front of her. Hey, she looked up. I just need a second. Take all the seconds you need. She nodded, then surprised me by reaching for my hands and placing them on her knees. Look at me, she said. I did. If tomorrow I wake up and everything is ruined, she said, voice steady, I need to know that tonight wasn't a fantasy. That you didn't just want the idea of me. I knelt in front of her so we were eye level. I want you, I said. The complicated, inconvenient, impossible version of you. Not just this moment. She searched my face for lies. Found none she could use. Okay, she whispered. When we finally came together, it felt less like crossing a line and more like stepping into something that had been waiting for us. There was tenderness, laughter, moments where we paused just to look at each other like we were afraid the other might disappear. At one point, Maya pressed her face into my shoulder and laughed softly. What? I asked. I can't believe this is happening, she said. Good or bad? Both, she admitted. Mostly terrifying. Same. After, we lay tangled together, the sheets twisted around us, the city still glowing outside like nothing had shifted. Maya traced absent shapes on my chest with her finger. I should feel guilty, she said. Do you? She considered it. I feel sad, and relieved, and scared, but not guilty. That scared me more than if she had. She turned onto her side, facing me. What are you thinking? I hesitated, then decided honesty was the only currency left. I'm thinking about Adrian. Her eyes closed briefly. Me too. Silence stretched between us, heavier now than before. I never meant to hurt him, she said. I really didn't. I know, I replied. That doesn't make it hurt less. She nodded. He's going to be destroyed. The word hung there. Yes, I said quietly. She swallowed. And so will you. People will hate you for this. I shrugged weakly. They might. She reached up and touched my face. I hate that I dragged you into this. You didn't, I said. I walked in with both feet. She studied me. Why? The question was simple. The answer wasn't. Because when I imagine you marrying him tomorrow, I said slowly, it feels like watching a door close on a life I never got to try. Her eyes filled again. This time, tears fell. I didn't plan this, she whispered. I know. She wiped her face, frustrated with herself. I don't know what happens now. I exhaled. Neither do I. But pretending tonight didn't happen isn't an option. She nodded. I can't do that. We lay there, the weight of the future pressing in. Will you still be here in the morning? She asked suddenly. The question caught me off guard. Yes, I said. Unless you want me gone. She shook her head quickly. No, I don't want to wake up alone and think I imagine you. I'll be here. She relaxed slightly and moved closer, resting her head against my chest. Sleep came in fragments. I dreamed of weddings I wasn't invited to, of phones ringing endlessly, of doors slamming shut. Each time I woke, Maya was still there, warm and real, her breathing steady. At some point before dawn, she stirred. What time is it? She murmured. I checked my phone. 5:12 a.m. She went still. That's when I'm supposed to start getting ready, she said softly. My chest tightened. Do you want to talk? She sat up slowly, pulling the sheet around herself like armor. I need to make a call, she said. My heart skipped. Now, she nodded. I can't wait. If I wait, I'll talk myself out of it. I sat up too, suddenly cold. Do you want me here for it? She hesitated. I don't know. I nodded. I can step out. She looked at me, conflict written all over her face. No, stay. I don't want to be alone when I do this. She grabbed her phone from the bedside table and stared at the screen like it might explode. This is going to end everything, she said. Yes, I agreed. She took a shaky breath and hit call. The ringing felt louder than it should have. One ring. Two. Then Adrian's voice, thick with sleep. Maya, what's wrong? She froze for half a second. I watched her grip the phone tighter. I can't marry you, she said. No preamble. No cushioning. Silence. Then, confused, what? I'm sorry, she said, tears spilling again. I can't do this. Not today. Not ever. Another pause. Longer. What are you talking about? He asked, his voice sharpening. Are you having a panic attack? No, she said. I'm having clarity. Maya, it's the morning of our wedding. I know. Where are you? Her eyes flicked to me. She hesitated. I'm not at home, she said. The silence that followed was different. Dangerous. Where are you? Adrian repeated, slower now. Maya closed her eyes. I'm with him, she said. My stomach dropped. With who? She inhaled, studying herself. With your best friend. The world seemed to hold its breath. What Adrian said, and the word cracked. Maya started crying openly now. I'm so sorry. I didn't plan this. I didn't mean for it to happen like this. But I can't lie to you. I sat frozen, my heart hammering, every instinct screaming that this was the moment everything truly shattered. There was a sound on the other end. A sharp exhale. Something being knocked over. You're with him? Adrian said again, disbelief giving way to something darker. Right now. Yes. How long? Maya looked at me. I shook my head slightly, silently begging her not to answer that question. She ignored me. Since last night, she said. The line went dead. Maya stared at her phone, breathing hard. It's done, she whispered. Outside, the sky was starting to lighten. Morning had arrived, and with it, the irreversible truth. Nothing would ever be the same again. The silence after the call felt louder than any scream. Maya sat on the edge of the bed, phone still in her hand, staring at the dark screen like it might suddenly undo what she'd just said. Her shoulders were tense, her breathing shallow. It's over, she repeated, but this time it didn't sound like relief. It sounded like shock. I sat beside her, close but not touching. Touch felt dangerous now, like it might tip her into something she couldn't climb back from. He hung up, she said, almost to herself. He didn't even yell. I nodded. That might come later. She let out a shaky laugh. Great. Something to look forward to. The sky outside was pale blue now, the city waking up in its usual, cruelly normal way. Somewhere, people were checking wedding schedules, arranging flowers, ironing dresses that would never be worn. I should go, Maya said suddenly. The words hit harder than I expected. Go where? I asked. I don't know, she admitted. Anywhere but here, anywhere but there. I rubbed my face, exhaustion finally crashing in. You don't have to decide everything in the next 5 minutes. She shook her head. If I stay still, I'll panic. She stood, pulling on her clothes with quick, ungraceful movements. The intimacy of the night before already felt unreal, like it belonged to a different version of us. I watched her, my chest tight. What about later? She paused, hands frozen on her jacket. Later, are you coming back? The question sounded small, even to me. Maya looked at me then, really looked, and her eyes filled again. I don't know, she said honestly. I don't know what I'm allowed to want anymore. That answer hurt more than a clean goodbye. She slung her bag over her shoulder and moved toward the door, then stopped with her hand on the handle. Do you regret it? She asked without turning around. The question hung there, heavy and unfair. I thought of Adrian's voice breaking on the phone. I thought of the kiss, the night, the way Maya had looked at me like she was finally breathing. No, I said. I regret the damage, but not the truth. She nodded slowly. That's what I thought you'd say. Then she opened the door and stepped into the hallway. I didn't follow her. I stood there long after the door closed, listening to her footsteps fade down the stairs, each one sounding like punctuation at the end of a sentence I wasn't ready to finish. When I finally moved, it was aimless. I made coffee I didn't drink. I sat on the couch and stared at the same wall Maya had leaned against hours earlier. At 7:43 a.m., my phone buzzed. Adrian. I didn't answer. It buzzed again, then again. By the fifth call, I felt physically sick. When I finally picked up, I didn't say hello. You piece of shit, Adrian said, his voice raw and shaking. How long? I closed my eyes. Long enough to matter. A sharp, broken laugh came through the speaker. Did you love her? Yes, I said. The word felt like a punch leaving my mouth. There was a long pause. Then, quieter, and her. Yes, that was it. No more lies. No clever wording. Another pause. Then something heavy, like he'd sat down. You watched me plan a wedding, Adrian said. You stood next to me. You smiled at my parents. I know. You could have stopped this. So could she, I said, then immediately hated myself for sounding defensive. Adrian exhaled slowly. Get out of my life. I didn't argue. Okay. And don't come near her, he added, anger flaring. If she chooses you, that's on her. But don't you chase her. I won't, I said. And this time, I meant it. The call ended without goodbye. I dropped the phone and sat there, the weight of it all settling in. This was the part no one romanticizes. The empty aftermath. The inventory of losses. By noon, my phone was full of messages. Mutual friends. Confused relatives. A few angry ones who didn't bother hiding it. I didn't respond. In the afternoon, A single message came through that stopped me cold. Maya, I'm safe. I'm with my sister. Please don't worry. I stared at it for a long time. Then I typed, I'm glad. Take care of yourself. I didn't add anything else. Days passed. The wedding became a rumor, then a cautionary tale. People took sides. Some burned bridges dramatically. Others quietly backed away. I lost friends I thought would be permanent. I deserved that. What surprised me were the nights. How quiet they became without the constant tension. Without pretending. I thought I'd feel more guilt. I did feel guilt, but it wasn't the loudest emotion. The loudest was grief. Not just for Adrian. Not just for the friendship. For the life that almost existed. For the version of Maya and me that only lived in stolen glances and one irreversible night. 2 weeks later, Maya called. I almost didn't answer. Hey, she said softly. Hey, how are you? She asked. I laughed once. Dry. Define okay. Fair, she said. I won't stay long. I wanted to hear your voice. I leaned back, staring at the ceiling. How are you? I'm rebuilding, she said. Slowly. Painfully. Honestly. That sounds about right. She hesitated. I didn't call to ask for anything. I just needed you to know. I don't blame you. I blame myself enough for both of us, I said. She sighed. You always did that. We were quiet for a moment. Do you think, she began, then stopped. Think what? Do you think there's a world where this could have worked? If timing wasn't such a cruel joke. I closed my eyes. I think, I said carefully, that some connections exist to wake you up, not to stay with you forever. She was quiet for a long time. Yes, she said finally. I think you're right. When the call ended, I didn't feel shattered. I felt finished. Months later, I ran into Adrian once, by accident. He didn't speak to me. He didn't need to. The distance was answer enough. Maya moved to another city. I know because someone told me, not because I asked. Sometimes, late at night, I think about that last night before her wedding. How close we came to building something on the ruins of something else. People like to ask if it was worth it. Here's the truth no one likes. It wasn't a happy ending. It wasn't a mistake, either. It was a moment of honesty that cost us everything. And I'd rather live with that cost than with a lifetime of wondering who I would have been if I'd stayed silent. Some loves are not meant to last. They're meant to change you, and then leave.